Alrighty, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Lakers Detailed with me, your host Vinay, and my co-host Raj. As always, we appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're in the space right now, if you can retweet the space, like it, whatever, share it with your friends, we greatly appreciate it, and we appreciate the support. Raj, we originally scheduled this space to happen in about 30 minutes, but the Suns had other plans and decided to not play competitive basketball against the Nuggets, and so it looks like we're pretty close to just another sort of disappointing elimination game for the Suns. So we fired it up early, but the space is recorded, so anybody who jumps in later will be able to listen to it later. How are you doing after the game five? I want to say kind of predicted loss for the Lakers, based on the conversations we
Yeah.
had behind the scenes. How do you feel about the loss from yesterday?
Yeah, a lot of mixed emotions in that one. You know the way people predicted a loss, but I don't think it was supposed to be in that fashion. Anthony Davis, obviously, with the what looked like it was going to be a concussion, and then was ruled, that it wasn't. Thankfully, he seems good to go. So you kind of take that as a win, even though you lose in Golden State. But yeah, I thought we both said that they would likely lose in that one, and you knew the Warriors would kind of come out with that. What was interesting though today, Vinay, both road teams winning.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta be careful for tomorrow. But I think that's fascinating. In the Boston Philly series, we have 4 road wins in that one, which is that's a lot of road wins in
Yeah.
a 6 game so far series. So the Lakers have to be ready, and I think they will. But yeah, I'm doing well, man. That one didn't hurt as bad. I thought we made a few runs, but it was clear. I thought in the second half we kind of did similarly what we did in Memphis in Game 5. Kind of was like, let's just get through this. Let's get through it healthy. Almost didn't, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm doing all right, man.
Yeah. So I didn't watch it live. I only watched the first 24 minutes. I watched the first 20 minutes of the game live, and then I want to go play basketball. And then my
Hmm.
timeline was blowing up about AD, like in between games. We were playing pickup, and I was like, "Oh man, I hope nothing bad happened." And then I eventually got to see it later. And then I messaged you. I was just like, "Okay, I saw the the hit
Yeah.
that, or I wouldn't even say it was a hit. It's like the incidental contact from Looney on AD, and like head face injuries, whatever. Like those are always dangerous because it doesn't take very much to concuss somebody. And Looney is a giant in his own right,
Hmm.
and he's a very strong guy. But it didn't look like it was too bad, in terms of just kind of the collision. If he had eaten an elbow like the way Sabonis ate an elbow, like in that King series, I would have been like, okay, maybe there's a little concern because Sabonis had a pretty nasty black eye, and that was a situation where like Looney's elbow came straight down in his face. But I was glad to see that it wasn't that serious. And then we got the good news today that he's not in concussion protocol and he looks good. He was walking around and stuff like that at the end of the game. I think
Yeah.
at the worst maybe he got scratched in the eye a little bit, and the light probably bothered his eye if it was sensitive. But it was just good to see that we kind of made it out of that game in one piece, relatively in one piece. I saw LeBron kind of tweaked his ankle a little bit. Again, Kevon Looney's in the area. He's a big dude. You got to account for him. That incidental stuff kind of happens. Lonnie got hit in the face. Austin got hit in the face. I was like, I rewatched it this morning, and I was just like, I don't know what's going on in this game, but everybody on the Lakers side is getting hit in the face. So it was bizarre thing to see.
Yeah, a lot of physicality allowed, in that one. Let a lot of stuff go. They kind of, up the baseline level of physicality that they were allowed. And yeah, like you said, a lot of people got hit in the face. LeBron, I thought he looked fine after, whatever that was. You know how he is. He ties his shoe
Yeah.
extremely tight, then runs the other way. So I'm hopeful he's fine as well. But yeah, just to get through that in one piece. You're home. If you told me 2 months ago you have one game at home to advance to the Western Conference Finals. You have LeBron and AD healthy as you could at this time, as they might ever be at this time. So I think I would have taken it. I think most people would have taken that. So I'm excited, man. Tomorrow's gonna be nervous, frustrating, gut punch,
Yeah.
exciting, all those superlatives like in one. So it should be fun.
Yeah, it's On rewatching the game this morning, how many? Oh, actually, how many times did you end up rewatching this game yourself? Because I know you're a
Oh,
maniac. You do multiple ones.
this one just once.
Okay.
Honestly, I could not put myself through that twice. And there was, we'll get into the stuff in this
Yeah,
one, but I
yeah,
thought the first half was kind of more telling than really the second half. Second half was kind of, we made a few runs, but the lead never got closer than, I think, 11, if I remember
yeah,
correctly. So, those teams keep you in arm's length distance, like, is not much to me. But I thought that first half had some stuff we'll definitely
yeah.
dive into.
Yeah, so just my thoughts. Like initially, I tweeted out really early in the morning when I was doing my rewatch. Again, I keep it on mute because if you guys don't know, that's I always recommend unless you're doing a watch playback with Raj and his group. Like one of the best things you can do is mute the national broadcast and just watch the game, and you'll see a lot of the stuff that you. It's like that thing where you drive a car and you're looking for directions or you're looking for the sign on the road and you turn off the volume on your radio, even though it shouldn't make any difference with your eyesight. But like
Yeah.
it helps concentrate and watching the game. Um, my simple response is really the game was decided in those last 4 minutes of that second quarter, right going into the half.
Yes.
That was basically that was the 11-point lead that they got, which they basically Lakers just traded baskets at that point in all second half exchange runs, but really even if I took a step back, like just letting Draymond score like their first 8 or 9 points of like the first 17 when they went up 17-5, Braun like very uncharacteristically like 3 turnovers. He had there was like a 3-on-2 or a 3-on-1 where he threw it all the way into the corner and D'Lo wasn't expecting
Oh
it
yeah.
to throw it. Like it just seemed like they were just kind of out of sorts and just small pieces of small runs like that sort of just added up throughout the game. But one thing was for sure, I thought their defense was very casual. Is probably the word I would use for the defense that the Lakers played. There was like the resistance at the rim really wasn't there. Like even Draymond scoring, like the Lakers were okay with him scoring, and he put up 20 points, so he sort of did his job. Same thing with Gary Payton. So like I would suspect that their attitude defensively about cleaning up that kind of stuff at home is going to be much better. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I mean, it'd be nice if it'd be a blowout because that's what happened with the Memphis game. But I think if they come in like very locked in defensively, like I don't, I think it'll be much more in the Lakers' favor. I don't think it'll be a struggle the way even Game 4 was for us.
Yeah, I think they emptied the tank in Game 6. But to your point, I actually wrote this sequence is down of that final 4 minutes. So they start 17-5, and then we get all the way back. LeBron hits a 3 to tie it at 50. Here's the next possessions, Vinay. This was the game, really, right here. And Steph gets trapped in the corner.
Yeah.
He kicks it to Wiggins, and he easily beats LeBron off the dribble, and he gets GP2 a dunk, right? Who's cutting from the corner. Lonnie steps up. Lonnie is the help man at the dunker spot right there. And so we're down to Dennis drives on Klay Thompson, throws a awful, bounce pass in the paint to AD, gets picked by Draymond Green. Steph goes the other way and scores. I think Austin might have had 2 fouls or something, but he scores over them pretty easily in transition. Next one down, Rui, awful closeout on Wiggins, finds Poole for a 3. Jordan Poole, I went back and watched, was dancing after he hit that 3. I was like, not really serious.
Generation Z basketball players, bro. I don't know what to tell you. They can shoot 1 for 20, but if they make that one shot and it's saucy, like they're just like
I was just cracking up at that when I was rewatching the game. I was like, man, he's shooting like 20%. He's like going down. He hits one wide open 3, right? Just like the ball swings to him. But anyway, this might not be as funny tomorrow, by the way. But
we'll
right,
see.
we'll see if this is as funny tomorrow. And then again, next play down, Braun is like a step slow. The reaction time, you talked about the energy on defense just now. Reaction time was just like 2 seconds slow, and 2 seconds is a lifetime when you're guarding Klay Thompson. He easily curls to the corner. AD expects Braun to be a little bit tighter when he's chasing, and Klay gets a corner 3. And then Steph just hits best in the world type of side step back 3. You're down 11. So yeah, to your point, that was the game to me. And there's some stuff want to get into, but that was it really, right? And like in that third quarter, I thought we came out really lackadaisical. They went up 16, and I thought that was it. But yeah, those moments there, and Vinay, I'm not sure. I'm gonna ask you, did you see anything there that translates to game 6 in that moment? I don't think I saw anything really there that like is really translatable from what Golden State was doing, I guess, to hurt us, like to put the game away in that little section. Was that just us being lackadaisical defensively and just not engaged?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it was just us being very, very undisciplined. Like I
Mm,
don't want to make it sound like the Warriors didn't do anything to win that game, and it was just us
sure.
giving away that. But like there, I think a lot of it was like we were letting Draymond just push the ball up in transition unchecked, like nobody stopping him. He's getting almost all the way to the 3-point line before he like to set somebody else up. I think the Warriors were very, very deliberate in trying to get out in transition as much as they possibly could. Even though 5 Lakers were running back, it turned into like one of those who can get to the finish line first. And you saw like they were trying to find Gary Payton for layups basically in transition. I think Dante DiVincenzo had one where he like
Hmm.
basically outran AD all the way down the court and ended up getting a layup off of. And you could see Steph in transition, literally like telling Dante like cut through the middle of the lane so I can give it to you because there's nobody at the rim right now. Like I think stuff like that when you watch the tape, I would imagine if when Darvin Ham watches the tape or whatever they do, they're gonna be like, just get back on defense, because
Yeah.
honestly, like I know Steph had when the game was like at 9, I think after Austin hit a 3, Steph kind of hit a couple jumpers, kind of put it away, and then
Hmm.
but prior to that, Steph, Clay, and Poole were not having good games. Like their game, like Poole and Clay have been awful like the past three,
Yeah.
4 games. So I like that the Lakers defense against the jump shooting has been really good. Really, where they've kind of let go of the rope here is the interior defense. And like we can get into if it's a team thing or if it's a player specific thing, or if it's a schematic thing, but like that's really been the difference. Like I shared the points in the paint with you. The
Yeah.
first 3 games of the season or first 3 games of the series, the Warriors I think had below 50 points in the paint every single game. They only had like 28 in game 1 where they got beat. But these last 2 games, both game 5 and game 4, the one with Steph just doing ISO, they've had over 50 points in the paint. They've pretty much matched the Lakers. So the
Hmm.
Lakers have to clean that up if they want to win the game. They can't be giving up points in the paint, especially if their perimeter guys are doing a good job on their jump shooters. So they have to clean that part up for sure.
Yeah, and I also think like again, not to get into refs at all here, but like if you're tied with free throws against
Yeah.
the Warriors, like that's gonna hurt. Like the Lakers are their whole game plan kind of is also getting to the line, being aggressive at the rim. I think something we've discussed though, like I don't think Steph's like 35. It's what kills you. It's Steph having 8 assists, right?
Yeah.
That's where they kill you. And also he had his 27. Bunch of step back mid range twos. I thought to put the game away, right? When we were trying to like claw back, we could just never get it to 10. Like it would get to like 11. He
Yeah.
did another step back jumper. It'd get to like 12. He did another step back jumper just to put us like in that arm's length. And yeah, like I thought Steph just thought he had a good floor game. I think it's kind of sucks that we weren't able to capitalize on like so Klay Thompson had 9 points in 40 minutes in game 4. He had 10 points in 37 minutes, right?
Yeah.
In game 5 in game 5. So tough not to capitalize on that. But the points in the paint, I think the biggest adjustment, Renee, that the Warriors did, and this is the one thing I think we're going to have to at least a little bit be more cognizant of. I thought their counter in game 4 would be Draymond being more offensively
Yeah.
aggressive. I thought that would be their counter. It wasn't. It was starting GP2 and bringing 80 up to the screen every single time.
Yeah.
And that got their thing going. In this game, though, Draymond's like, I have D'Angelo Russell. I got to score. Like, I
Yeah.
got Austin Reeves. I got to score. And to your point, the 17-5 start, the sad part of it, or sad part about it was one was a GP2 3
Yeah.
and like one was a Draymond 3. You know, so it's like 6 points right there. You're like,
And then
if you could just like,
Draymond and one on a drive, I think on
oh,
Vando, like, and then he was like
yeah.
yelling in Vando's face, and I was just like, I was like, all right, like when I
You
saw
knew that was
that,
coming, though.
yeah,
You knew that was
like
coming.
when I saw it, I was just like, I look, you can see like Vando's expression because they zoomed in on him, and Vando's like rolling his eyes, just like, all right, like Vando probably knew, like, okay, I have to defend this guy because he's actually going to try and score now He's not just gonna do that thing where he just stands around and waits to give it to somebody else.
And that's not a play that Draymond has scored on a lot, like where he's catching it like right at the at the dunker and then going up aggressively. Usually he's like trying to pitch back out to somebody.
Yeah,
So I think that's something like is that something you would specifically adjust to? I guess Draymond, I don't think he's gonna have 20 and 10 in game
yeah,
six. Like I like that'd be tough to get back to back 20 and 10 games from Draymond. But I do think he's also gonna be a little bit more aggressive still. I think that's a key that they're keying in on. And also Andrew Wiggins, I thought was very assertive
oh yeah,
as well. Both
absolutely,
of the,
yeah,
both of those guys, we committed to switching a little bit more, right? And I texted you about that as well. It's like we kind of switched a lot more than normal in this game, kind of just giving
yeah.
up the AD on the perimeter. And I don't think we'll do that as easily. But the domino effect to me of that was Andrew Wiggins and Draymond being aggressive. So how would you kind of counteract that? Like they're putting
Yeah,
AD in like perimeter actions, I guess, to get Wiggins and Draymond and Steph hunting the rim, like those points in the paint that you just brought up.
yeah. So I think the Warriors don't necessarily. It's never a player specific thing that they try to do, right? They want to get points in the paint, and they'll do whatever's necessary to get those points in the paint, right? So if that means
Mm-hmm.
Steph running pick and rolls and setting up Gary Payton and Gary Payton being inserted into the starting lineup, then so be it. In this case, because the Lakers were so willing to switch, like without any
Mm-hmm.
resistance, like so willing to switch on the perimeter, which it's taboo to say, I guess maybe, but I like that was kind of what was telling to me on rewatch when they were giving up those switches, like taking the switches so easily, not fighting through screens and stuff like that. Like
Mm-hmm.
that gave me like the feeling that like, oh, okay, they're okay with playing very casual defense because this is not what they would typically do
Yeah.
against this team. And like I don't want to pick specific players, but it's just like you could tell also by LeBron. Like LeBron was a weak side guy. Like there was many times where he just was just like, I'm not going to even contest this. Like he had some trouble containing Wiggins. Like he was giving up straight line drives to Wiggins, like going baseline and stuff like that. But it's not just him, so I don't want to say that. But like you could tell the team defense was very casual. So like if I'm the Lakers, that can't happen. Like we can't just do whatever the Warriors like. Just because the Warriors go and send 3 different screens to try and get AD out of the paint doesn't mean AD needs to go out of the paint. You know what I mean? Like we don't need to switch AD onto Steph if Gary Payton the second is the one who's screening for him. Like you should be able to fight through a screen over Gary Payton the second. Like that screen shouldn't be able to stop Laker guards from staying with Steph. Force them to run a real like pick and roll. Like make Gary Payton have to rim run and Steph have to drive at the same time, not just let him slip with nobody on the backside helping him. So I think it's just playing with a little bit more force, not just kind of doing whatever is the most easiest thing to do. I think that'll be a big difference in Game 6, and they have to do that. You can't just do whatever the Warriors want to do because they will
Yeah.
set you up for failure for sure.
Yeah, so we started the game with AD on Wiggins, right? Like we had last time. And again, I thought their counter there was just putting AD like through the ringer through in motion stuff, right? We'll give it to Draymond, and now you have to guard Steph coming up. You have to guard Clay kind of coming around.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought we overreacted a little bit. I thought, and Steph's gonna do that. Just him coming off the screen is like fire alarms that you got to ring like
Yeah,
every single time. But again, like I think the 8 assists and getting their wheelhouse going, and maybe it's just as simple as the role guys don't hit some of those shots that they
sure.
do, at home. But I do think like the Wiggins matchup is interesting, and where I'll kind of parlay this to is like, would you continue to start Vanderbilt? I guess here and like right, and I think our defense was the issue. We gave up 67 points in the first half, and we were down 11, so we scored
Yeah,
like 50, 56. So well, you could be better offensively, but I think if you give up 67 points to any team, you're gonna be in trouble. But I think the conversation today is like, I think Rui's gonna have a tough time playing. Like, I just don't think he can run. We're putting him on Clay on purpose. I don't know what mind game that is, but like I don't
yeah,
I don't understand it. But it worked a little bit tonight. Again, Clay's cold, like you said. Like he's just not having Game 6 Clay though. That's that's the terminology. So you gotta
yeah,
be ready for that. But would you continue with Vanderbilt here? That's where I go back and forth. I think we're so late in the series, like adjusting to their adjustment now. Like I feel like that'd be just a lot to do in like your do or die game to go to that when that hasn't been the starting lineup for so long. But would you start Vanderbilt still? Was there someone else you'd kind of go with?
Yeah, so if speculating, I think they're good. I think they're probably going to stick with Vanderbilt just because
Mm,
they want to start the game off trying to kill any of that motion stuff that Golden State may
yeah.
want to run. Um, again, like it's coming back to it, and it's going to sound like I'm harping on him, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But it like if Vanderbilt is doing his job and AD is doing his job, then we need Braun to do his job. Like he can't be giving up weak side offensive tip outs,
Yeah.
because GP2 was crashing the glass and out jumping our 6'9" guy, and obviously physics of basketball. Somebody gets a running start on you, they're going to get to the ball probably before you do. But it's just like no boxing out. Like D'Lo has done a really bad job boxing out. Like
Oof.
there's been times where they've had him on Wiggins, and Wiggins isn't even part of the offensive play, and he doesn't do anything like in terms of boxing out. He just lets Wiggins run right by him and do it. So like my thing is, I think they have to play Vando because Vando will run around, chase guys around, depending on what he's assigned to do, and the other thing is he's going to crash the glass because I think the other alternative is that they're going to they may start Dennis, and my
Yeah.
largest concern. Now I know people have said Lonnie Walker's improved defense. Maybe he should start. That's very well possible too as well. But my concern is if it's just LeBron who is compromised, like his foot is compromised. You can see it in how he attempts, like he's missing bunnies because he has no second bounce on his like a standstill bounce. He needs like a full running start to get what he normally wants. But if you do that, then you're putting a lot of pressure on AD to have to be the rim protector and be able to rebound in traffic. And we already know that Draymond, Wiggins, and GP2, they're selling out on every single offensive rebound. They're going to go and try and crash the
Mhm.
glass. So it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's the wise decision. And Rui, I don't know if we would start him all of a sudden just for that. But like,
Yeah.
there's a trade off there, just based on what we've seen basketball wise with these lineups. That always concerns me.
Yeah, that's the counter that Golden State makes you play in, right? The game that you got at the game of chess that you're like living in is okay. Do we want to chase better? Do we want more size? Like where's kind of the line there? And I think that's a tough decision. I would stick with Vanderbilt. I think there is a chance that Dennis starts. I don't see Lonnie being in there. I think Renee, I think we found out I think it was like 6 minutes left in the fourth or something, and we were kind of coming back, and we went to the Dennis, Austin, and D'Lo 3-guard lineup. I think that's the lineup he trusts the most. Like I think that's like the lineup like he feels is his most trustworthy. Like for all the marbles, like it's Dennis, D'Lo, and Austin next to LeBron and AD.
Yeah,
I think that's the five that he really wants to go with. I still think he's going to start with Vanderbilt, but it's a tough situation because anyone who you put Anthony Davis on, they're kind of committed to like we're bringing that guy up to screen. I don't care who it is. You hide him on Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is going to come up and screen. You hide him
right.
on Draymond. He's obviously Draymond. That's the exact route he wants. You hide him on GP2. He's coming up. And I think we have to like pre-switch a little bit.
Sure.
Force the ball to GP2 in places where like he has to actually make a play in space. I think like we did a bad job of letting him like cut baseline. And a lot of that again is on there's a lot of plays when I watch like LeBron just like yeah, I'm just gonna watch the 4-on-3
Yeah.
kind of come through. And again, 38 years old, all those caveats come through, and you have to get the the load managing and stuff. But
Like the perfect example is just a 2-on-2 play where it's Braun and AD running down the floor defensively, and I think
mhm.
Braun and Wiggins is running behind Braun, and they're kind of paired up together. And I forgot who it was. Somebody attempts to layup. It might have been Steph or it might have been Poole. I can't remember. And AD goes and he alters the shot, and Wiggins just runs directly behind Braun because Braun's just watching him, and he gets like a tip put back
Oh
dunk sort
yeah,
of
so when
thing.
they were asking for the offensive
Yeah,
interference, which
and
it
so
wasn't, but
it's just like plays like that. It's like, oh, like I get it. Like I don't expect you to jump with Wiggins every single time, but it's just like that kind of situational awareness. I thought that was very lacking, not just with one player, with the entire team. Like D'Lo has given up a ton of offensive rebounds, just ball watching, like not even interested in rebounding. Like maybe once or twice I'll see him do like a proper box out if he's like stuck to Draymond or something like that. But he's not. Like our guys need to rebound, and I think that was one of the things that like when we see it with Austin, like Austin kind of stands out sometimes because he does crash the glass and help these guys out. So like you can see the guys that are putting in effort in that respect. And Lonnie a little bit to some degree too in game 4. So it's just that effort has to be there, and that effort wasn't there. And I think that's the difference between our loss. I think that was the main difference in our game 5 loss.
I'm a little worried about, the D'Lo part of this. I think it's like 2 straight games. I think after GP2 was entered into the starting lineup, I think that the ball pressure from GP2 was really taking him out of his game. I feel like he just doesn't look comfortable, and then defensively as well. There was a play that I posted where Lonnie Walker. I was actually highlighting Lonnie Walker, like being a madman chasing around. People like, watch D'Lo on this play where he's just like, D'Lo's kind of just walking around and like very unattentive to like what's going on. It's like a late clock play. He's not a fast player, obviously. Like the athletic gap between him and our other guards are there. But yeah, like the defensive stuff, giving up offensive rebounds. A lot of plays were like, just got to box out sometimes. There's a every single time really against this Warriors team. But talking about like D'Angelo Russell, he came through game 6, of the Memphis series. I think he had 30 points. I think he had like 4 threes by halftime. Huge game. Going to need it, I think, tomorrow. I think you're going to need some other contributions here. I think we've been waiting for like the LeBron, demolition scoring game. We'll see if that comes to fruition tomorrow, hopefully. But I think D'Lo is going to have to hit some open shots. Austin is. They're continuing to sell out in the paint. Where you at with D'Lo, man? I'm a little worried about the role that he's been having. We're trying to run offense through him, and I think him being like an off-ball player is more when GP2 is so locked in on him. I think that's kind of his role. But where you at with D'Lo?
So it's pretty clear that GP2 assignment is just to wipe him out completely. The largest concern isn't so much the assignment; it's the fact that he's not even trying to run the offense. Like he gives it up and then he just removes himself from the play. And like we've hardly seen pick and rolls with him and Anthony Davis since that assignment's happened. Like, and respect to GP2, like he's a phenomenal defender. He's going to like more or less face guard you for 94 feet. And I think that's why we've seen Austin be more aggressive, because he's got Clay or he's got Steph, and he's the one who's getting the screens and getting those shots up. So I don't know if that changes very much. Like honestly, like we're at game 6. Like I don't think there are any more adjustments. I don't think there's any trickery coming up. I think it's very basic. It's very like straightforward. Just like you said, whoever AD is guarding is the person that's going to come and screen, because they want AD away from the rim as much as possible. With GP2, like the GP2 assignment D'Lo, if he's on D'Lo, his entire responsibility is to make it so that D'Lo is not involved in the offense. So if D'Lo gives it up, like I don't know if we're going to run off-ball actions for him or anything like that, but he can't just allow himself to be completely removed, because what happens is GP2 gets the ball out of his hands. Now his job is done on that possession defensively. As soon as that shot goes up, GP2 goes and crashes the glass, which is towards his strength as a player, because he's a good defensive rebounding guard. So now what have we gotten out of D'Lo? So if we're not getting defense out of D'Lo, like in his individual situation, if he's not boxing out, if he's not helping crash the glass, if he's not shooting the ball, then you're not helping. Like functionally, you're hypothetically spacing for us. But if you're so far away from the play, then that doesn't work either. So there has to be something somewhere where he tries to not force the issue, but increases the level of aggression. Like maybe you draw a quick foul on Gary Payton second, and now he's backing off of you. Now you can play your game a little bit more. Maybe the screen that you call for isn't Anthony Davis. Maybe it's Austin Reeves, that guard screen, and now you've got Klay Thompson on you instead. Stuff like that, or maybe we run that pitch and catch with Vando and D'Lo and work that action. So it's like obviously we want to keep feeding AD and get him into the interior, and like I think that's going to be a thing that's going to happen. But I thought, even I think you mentioned earlier, like Dennis had a turnover where he like telegraphed the pass that he was basically going to throw to AD. Everybody knew it.
Yeah.
Ron had one where he threw one like straight up in the air, like a jump ball to AD in traffic, and AD got it. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, you guys can't just be. It can't be like this. You know what I mean? Like Ron, you can get to the rim too, or D'Lo, you can get to the rim. And so just, I will say this. I thought our offense was fine for the most. Like I liked all of the shots that we took.
Yeah,
it felt like the flow of it was all good. Like they were the reason why this game never got away from them is they just kept attacking the paint and getting layups at the rim. So I think that philosophically they're fine. It's really just not allowing yourself to be forced into settling for threes. You know what I mean? Like I thought Dennis settled for threes a couple times, and I was just like, you could probably just attack the rim and find somebody else.
Yeah, and the tell too is the Vanderbilt threes, right? I think he took like a few threes as well in terms of like just in looking at our process. I thought, there were a few plays where the ball swung to him, and could always tell that's kind of when the team's like, yeah, just let him, shoot some
Yeah,
threes, see if he has it. If not, and I agree, I thought our offense was okay. I thought AD was a monster in the first quarter. Like I thought he was, I think he was in double figures already in the first. He had every little jump hook going. He had his jump shot going. He was super aggressive. We just couldn't get stops. They continued to attack the paint. And I think that's where like Golden State only had 13 threes. I know I say only, but like for them, they were like 13 for 39, like 37% or something like that. Not a crazy like shooting game from outside. I think we had like one less three than them. It was just the paint barrage that they went into.
yeah,
And again, it's that overreaction. And that's crazy because they're playing two non-shooters at a time. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like so the Steph ball screen is like really mucking things up for us. Andrew Wiggins again, like I talked about, the 25 points where he just went crazy. Like he was, in the paint. Every
yeah,
floater went through. Was super aggressive on Austin Reeves, on D'Lo, and that's like the matchup as well. I'm a little concerned with. And we need it, like we have to find a way to keep AD kind of in the paint, right? And so
yeah,
like I think that's where I think that's the chess match that you have to figure out, where you don't just, like you talked about, you can't just give up because once you commit to that, then the Warriors can really get into their bag. Like okay, you're gonna bring AD up every single time. You're just gonna allow us to get your best defender outside the paint. And now it's LeBron, like you said, it's Rui Hachimura, it's Jared Vanderbilt protecting the paint from guys who are starting to attack the rim. So I think that's super important. And, I'm asking for a D'Lo game. I'm asking for a Reeves game. But honestly, game 6, like, this is where your stars, like, this is what you're paid the big money, like, what you're paid the big money for. Like, to be honest, like, this
yeah,
is where it is, like, I think game 1, you got like a 20-point D'Lo game. Game 3, you got a 20-point Austin game. Game 4, you got the Lonnie Walker special.
yeah,
That's 3 wins. Like, I'm not saying LeBron and AD were bad during that stretch. I'm just saying, like, you got 3 wins off of role players doing a lot of helpful stuff offensively. You need one more. Like, I think this is where your stars have to come through. You're at home. Like, this is where, I was watching Philly and Boston. I'm just watching like Embiid and Harden unable to like crack 80 points,
yeah.
in like a home game. And Tatum is like 1 for 13, and he hits like the final 3 shots to put it away. But like, that's where your game is won. You're home, Phoenix aside. I don't know what the hell that was. But like your stars, have to come through, I think, in these elimination type games, and that's what I expect for tomorrow. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think all of this is just sort of like it's you know I think we say this every we say this like every time we do this space, like game 5 would be a great time for that
Yeah,
LeBron
no.
masterclass game. Game 6, and I'm basically saying the same thing again. Like if we can get one LeBron masterclass game, game 6 would be perfect for it. He's kind of set, the stage is sort of set up for him to bring it home for us. And honestly, I think our role players have played really well, like throughout the entire playoffs. Like you expect some inconsistency with like Rui and stuff like that, but for the most part, like Austin's been phenomenal for them. Like he's outplayed
Mhm.
Jordan Poole, I would say, in aggregate. Like Dennis has been great. Rui's been good in spots. D'Lo had a good game. Vando's done his job, even with his minutes sliding down. So it's like if we can get that, even if we get like a lockdown the paint AD, that's phenomenal. Like that'd be an excellent situation, because that's basically what happened in the Memphis game. Memphis game 6, it was just him like completely shutting everything off in the paint and being the guy that we think he is. So I don't know, like if we're going to get a masterclass from either of those guys, but I don't even know if we need a masterclass from either of
Well,
them.
my point with this is like maybe the master class, when you think of LeBron in terms of his history, is like the 40 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists. I think it's evolutionized, right? Like I don't think you're getting that, at least not in this series. Maybe against Denver, where you can attack. Oh, I don't want to, it's disrespectful to even go on that series actually.
Yeah,
But like I was thinking of, it's crazy we already have playoff games we can call back to from this season, which makes no sense. But game 4, game 4, Memphis, LeBron, we were like, hey, like be nice to go up 3-1, right? Like, you don't want to give back home court.
yeah,
Memphis comes out and punches us in the mouth. Like it's a close game throughout. LeBron has 20 rebounds in that game, right? 22 points, 20 rebounds. He had this first 2020 game, I believe, of his career, or maybe in the playoffs. Don't remember which one. And I think that's where I think it has to be a defensive masterclass to me. I think tomorrow's a defensive game. Like AD and LeBron need to put on a defensive show, and you just need to do it one more time at home. Crowd is in it. Let the role players kind of feed off of it. It's funny. I was rewatching. I know you don't watch it with sound, which is a little bit psychotic too. I must say. I like the. Obviously I'm not listening for the announcers. I love the
Right. Yeah.
crowd. The crowd noises to me, and I think I'm not sure another player and its crowd have this relationship. Obviously, Steph and Chase Center have their bond, right? Draymond and Chase have a symbiotic relationship to where like he does some foul stuff and the crowd exit on and like it pumps him to do more foul stuff. And then like the refs kind of get this energy from Chase, like, oh, we got to kind of control stuff. And Draymond's like, you're not controlling this crowd right now. So it's like a funny kind of like,
did you like how he did you like how he like ran up on that ref like on for I think it was like a foul call and he got like almost face to face with the ref. I was like, dude.
So you didn't hear I'm guessing you didn't hear the Chris Haynes report right there then. So Chris Haynes, this is a real thing he reported after that. He said the refs like stopped talking and Draymond said, I'm not going to stop talking. You're going to have to tee me up. And the ref never teed him up. So like, it's just I'm listening to that. I'm like, did that report just come out the way I heard it?
If I ever get a chance to ever talk to him, like whether it's an interview, a pod, whatever, or even if we're walking across the crossing path, the only question I'm going to ask him is, what do you do to not get kicked out of games? Because I've never seen a player be as demonstrative to the refs. I'm not even talking about like out in space. Like he's an emotional guy, so I understand.
Sure.
Defensive guys tend to be like that. Like they're very demonstrative. But like the way he's demonstrative to the refs, I've never seen somebody be like that. And he doesn't get technicals. I'm almost shocked. At least one. Like the second one, I get it. You don't want to eject them, so they'll have a lot of restraint and they'll take it. But they don't even give him the first one sometimes.
But it almost gets worse after the first tech, right? Like he gets even more demonstrative and like feels like he won't be thrown out. So yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, like him and Chase have like a really like just he gets them going. I think they get him going, and like you see the crowd, and you don't think of Draymond as like a role player, quote unquote, but like I thought like he really fed the crowd and his tenacity and tone. I thought really impacted us, and his defense I thought was fantastic as well. But like the scoring to me is what really built it. I thought he got a few easy buckets, like you talked about the and one early. Jaren Vanderbilt hit a three, right? Those threes feel like 6 points to me. Marcus Smart, Marcus Smart, Dylan Brooks, their threes feel like 6. Like your defensive coverage was perfect, right? You chase Steph around, you get around the screen, you recover. Draymond open 3 goes in. You're like, oh, like what was the point of all that? He had a mid range too, I think, or later on in the game.
At the end of the game, at the end of the game, it was 9 points. The Lakers played really good defense out of a timeout.
Yeah.
Steph gives it to Draymond for a standstill mid range because he's just standing there in the middle of nowhere. And he makes it. And I was just like, oh, God, this is just one of those games where it's just like, we're not going to win because, it is what it is. Even Gary Payton I don't think he's made many threes at all like this series.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a corner 3
early. Yeah.
Yeah. Early and that was part of their 17-5 run. But yeah, it's just that part's Draymond, man. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I think the home crowd does make a difference, especially for our role players too, as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's where you get the advantage. You saw tonight, I think before it got out of hand, Cameron Payne, got the Chris Paul, turned into Chris Paul for a little bit, was hitting, transition threes and stuff. So that's kind of what happens with like home crowds. But I thought it was funny watching like the rewatch and watching Draymond just getting egged on by the crowd and re-egging the crowd on. It was just that's something that you don't think in terms of like the road arena, but I thought it impacted them, and obviously Steph gets going from them as well. So yeah, we'll see it in game 6. I just a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. So let me read. So Dave McMenamin just tweeted out a very looks like it's just like a 500-word report just on ESPN, just talking about Anthony Davis and lineup changes and stuff like that. And so obviously he threw the lineup changes in there because I'm sure it would catch everybody's eye. So I'm just going to read the last paragraph, and if you follow Dave McMenamin, you can see the tweet that he put up on there. And so I'm just going to read the last paragraph. This is I think he just put it out maybe about 5-10 minutes ago. Is when it
Okay.
got released, and so let me just read for the folks in the space what it is that he is in this report. And so he says beyond Davis's expected inclusion, this is after he's talked about Davis passing, not being in concussion protocols and all that stuff. Ham was asked if he could adjust his lineup any further to match the scoring punch that the Warriors possess. And this is Ham's response. These type, I'm sure that's a typo. These types of situations, you throw a lot of stuff up against the wall, see what sticks, Ham said. But we're not shooting in the dark here. So Ham's saying, like, we have film, we know what we can do if we wanted to do that. Furthermore, it says the Lakers coaching staff watched the film of Game 5 together on Thursday afternoon while the team was given the day off from practice. So they did a film session today. Ham said that while the temptation to tweak the lineup is there, he recognizes his team has already won 3 games with the same group of starters. And the solution to win the series could very well just be to play better with those players, which is what we just kind of discussed a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
And then further on to conclude, it says, we'll sleep on some things, some suggestions, and some ideas that we have, and then wake up in the morning ready to make a final decision, Ham said. The Lakers lead Western Conference semifinal series 3-2 and host Game 6 on Friday night in Los Angeles. So they did discuss possibly tweaking the starting lineup. Doesn't sound like they're committed here or there. Basically, it's the same 2 options that we essentially described. Either they're going to make a starting lineup change, probably what you said. He likes to play Dennis as that 5th guy next to Austin, D'Lo, Braun, and AD. Or they're just going to go and tell these guys, look, we watched the tape. You guys were playing like ass to start this game defensively. If we clean this up, we're probably, this game doesn't go the way that it goes. I would suspect that they're probably going to lean towards that first part because Vando's Vando hasn't hurt them. He hasn't hurt them that way. Like they're not losing. I guess like I was having a back and forth with somebody else. Like they're not losing because of their offense. They're losing because of their defense. And adding more offense to it's not going to resolve the defensive issues. So I think they're just going to be much more. They'll be better. I think defensively they'll be better. I hope they are because that's really going to be what decides whether we win Game 6 or not.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think obviously it's painful playing 4-on-5. Like that's never a situation that you want to purposefully be in. But I don't think Vando's offense is the reason we're losing these games. Yeah. And I do think defensively he has a role. The reason he's there and our big, people forget, because I think it's interesting how I always forget this too, so I don't blame anyone, but like in a playoff series, right, every game kind of gets the overreaction, but like each game is like its own ecosystem, right? Like the transfer of each game is a lot less than people think. Like I remember in 2010, we blew the Celtics out in Game 6, and then Game 7 was like the most barn burner, not barn burner, sorry. Like it was the most like tough nails game that I've ever watched, and they were just 2 completely opposite. So that's kind of how the playoff goes. And yeah, going home is a lot different, but I don't think Vanderbilt's offense is the reason we're losing. I think we have counters set up where like if we're doing things right, like he's not the one taking the shot. We've said this like for weeks now, is like the counter for him being open is not him shooting, right? Like he should not have 4 or 5 threes. He's open every time. Like as if that's something they want to go to, they can, but like that's not the counter there. And I think they just need to be better, need to clean it up. I think we gave the Warriors way too many easy looks. They're playing 2 non-shooters. They've committed to that. They're like, we cannot score on Anthony Davis. Like we need to go small. We need to run fast. I thought we turned the ball over a lot, like you said.
Yeah.
If we clean up the turnovers and the offensive rebounds, I think that's enough. That's a margin that like really helps us. And then I know people don't like to hear this, but getting to the line, like I think that's important for us. I think 15. We shot 14 free throws. They shot 15, I believe, if I have the numbers correctly. Like that's just not that margin is not enough in terms of where they usually win the 3-point line as well. I think it was close in Game 5 as well. But I agree with that.
Even with the free throw disparity, like the free throw disparity is not that, like that's not the issue. It's like if we're a big, sorry, not to refute your point, like just to add to your point, like if we're the big physical team, and like LeBron said after the game, we like to go to the paint, we like contact, we like all that sort of stuff. If that's the type of team you are offensively, you have to be that team defensively too as well. I can't it
Yes.
like but if I go back at the end of the game and I look up points in the paint for both games 4 and game 5, and Golden State is neck and neck with us, and Golden State's supposed to be a jump shooting team, then that means we didn't do our jobs defensively, and that
Yeah.
they're exploiting, whether it's the schematic thing with AD being pulled out to the paint or our weak side guys, LeBron, Rui, Vando, D'Lo, whoever, Austin, they're not doing their jobs and helping protect, seal off the paint the way that they should. And so that has to happen. It can't just be talk. Like, we have to see it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think part of that is LeBron just being better as a down rotation guy, and then Vanderbilt as well. I thought our rotation just weren't crisp, and the Warriors are the team that are going to absolutely kill you if you aren't on point. And again, like we broke it down. I think that end of the second quarter was really the game, right? It was tied at 50. LeBron got his jump shot going a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's another thing. Just I tick in the lose the battle, win the war type of stuff. If LeBron's jumper can go just a little bit, he's he's really aiming those, trying to get those going. I think 80's jumper has sneakily been good.
It's
He's
been
sneakily
nice.
been hit. Yeah, he's been hitting at a 56, 57%, I think, from mid range or something like that. Since the playoffs. So those two things I think should bode well, and just meet force with force. I keep saying that. I think this goes for the D'Lo GP2 matchup. I think this goes for the Draymond AD matchup. You got to go through them, not around them. And I think that'll be important, I think, for game 6. And I expect that. I think, they'll come out with game 7 energy in game 6. You do not want to go back to the Chase Center and try to win a game 7. That'd be a extremely hostile environment. So I think they'll, put it all out there. And you can start Vanderbilt, and then if it's not going, then you can always put in Dennis. I think if you already start with Dennis and that doesn't work, then that's a tough kind of where are you at then? If you start the Dennis small ball, the 3 guards, and I think that also really creates a lot of other issues in terms of the rebounding. We're already getting killed in that you go small to match up with them, you're kind of matching their small ball with your small ball. I think that's the wrong decision. I don't think you want to match. Going small against the Warriors is kind of counter. It makes sense in terms of if you want to match up, but I think you're not going to match their small ball lineup. Draymond at center with Steph and Clay. That's tough to match up. You want to beat them with size and phicality on the other end. And I think we have the people to do that.
Yeah, I think we have the personnel. I think we have the starting personnel to do it. It's just a lot of stuff is just seeing the way that they were pushing in transition, as a unit, just whoever gets the ball, just go up. They weren't even giving it to Steph at some of the time. Steph wasn't part of some of those transition plays. It's just Draymond and GP2 and Clay pushing it up the floor. And it's just we just didn't we didn't pick up guys in transition. We weren't getting back in transition. And then we would just do dumb stuff. We pick up AD picks up the wrong guy. I know you're supposed to put a body on somebody in transition. That's typically what coaches teach, but it's just he has to pick up the wrong guy because somebody else didn't do their job, right? D'Lo was standing in the corner and he watches the shot go up, and we already know that he's not going to be crashing the offensive glass, but he doesn't wait until the ball actually gets rebounded to start running back. And so now Wiggins is already in front of him, and now Wiggins is going to get a free run to the rim. Stuff like that. It's just small things like that have to be corrected, because you just can't be lazy about it. You have to understand the importance of killing those possessions. And I I said, I thought the Lakers' offense was fine. I thought actually their defense was pretty good for the most part. I thought, we kept a lot of guys under check, made things difficult. It's just that one run really at the end of the second where they just made a bunch of jump shots. And we kind of lost guys and turned it over. That just really hurt us. And, I would hope that we play a really clean game tomorrow, turnover wise. I don't think Bron's going to come out and have 3 turnovers in the first 5 minutes of the game. I would hope that he plays a much cleaner game. I think they'll be more deliberate in their actions. They'll be more deliberate with how they play their offense and their defense. It's just, I don't know. It just feels a lot like game 2. Game 2, you can tell they came out and they were yeah, we're happy to get the split,
Yeah, which is disappointing too. You know what I mean? They're I feel that last night's game, even though the Warriors, I give them credit. I thought they played well. They they ran their stuff. They countered a lot of our stuff. think that game was takeable, like in a
Yeah.
sense, like we didn't get the doors blown off us like people thought at least, and I thought we made enough of a run in that second quarter. Again, you go down 17-5. A lot of teams might mail that in, but they got all the way back. I think they took like a 3-point lead on an 80 jumper, but from there it just kind of fell off. The avalanche went. I'm interested. So this playoffs has really been LeBron off the ball. Like
Yeah.
that's been the story. It's like, look at him, deferring to Austin Reeves and deferring to D'Lo, and that's cute and like it's nice, it's fun,
Mhm.
it's great. It's freaking winning. Like it's winning time now. It's
Right.
second round, game 6. This is for all the marbles. Like, so I'm fascinated here in this situation. Is this still a defer, or is this like I'm LeBron freaking James? Like you're starting 6'6" and 6'5" dudes on the starting lineup. Like I need to get to the rim.
Yeah.
Zach Lowe said an interesting stat that I didn't see before, but LeBron ran 3 pick and rolls in
Yeah.
game 5. He ran like 26 in game 4, picking on Steph Curry, right? Every single
Right.
time. Like not exactly rolling. Those stats can kind of be, manipulated in different ways, but like where you're hunting Steph Curry, the guy comes and sets the screen to get the
Right.
switch. Only did that like 3 times. I expect a lot more of that, especially when Poole's on the floor. Poole played 20 something minutes. I don't know, it's a lot for like what he's been getting in terms of his rotation. I think we're going to try to make Steph work a little bit more, make it a little bit more deliberate there. But yeah, what do you think? Like, where's LeBron's mindset to you? Is he going to play it by ear, pick his spots, still try to take some jump shots? Where's the LeBron James, you think, tomorrow? Offensively, I'm not expecting 40 points. I'm just
Right.
talking about the mindset in terms of like, is this him being like, no, just give me the ball. Like this is a time for me to kind of control every single action.
Yeah. So in terms of the playmaking, I think he'll go with the flow when it comes to that. But when it comes to his actual, like when he's calling his own number, I
Mm-hmm.
think he'll probably be a little bit more deliberate with his action. Really, the question is how is he going to deal with Andrew Wiggins' physicality? Because Andrew is pressing him a lot when he gets the ball in
Yeah.
his hands, and I don't think Braun trusts his first step right now against Wiggins. And Wiggins is a very good defender. Like he did a fabulous
Yeah.
job on Tatum in the finals. And so it's about getting him downhill. It's about maybe getting Wiggins off of him if that's a guard coming over and screening and just doing a rub screen or a slip just to give him a little bit of separation. Like that's been one of the things because he doesn't get to the rim fast enough to avoid the extra defender. So like when it's Wiggins on him, like Draymond is going to come help. GP2 is going to come help, and they're really just trying to crowd like his floor space and make it really difficult for him to get a nice shot off. And even then, he's still getting a shot off. He's just his foot's not there, so he's missing him. So my thing is the best way to probably get him good looks is to do it in early transition. He can't. I don't know if he can do it in standstill half court. You know what I mean? Like if the ball is swinging around and it gets to LeBron and then he's attacking a closeout or something like that. That'll work, but it can't be give it to LeBron, ISO against Wiggins, no screen, nothing. Like I think he's having
No,
trouble
yeah.
with those possessions specifically.
I still think, Vinay, it's him in the post. Like that's where I'd like to see us like
Yeah.
try to take advantage of. The Warriors do a great job of like shading, fronting, doing all make it. When you're small, you're kind of given a little bit more leeway. You're a little bit more. You can be physical. You can, when you're small, you're fast, right? So
Yeah.
a little more quickness, and you can knock passes away. And I thought that like kind of created some turnovers there, but I would look for like him in the post to like try to get. I think that's where he has the advantage on Wiggins. He's not going to, like you said, the ball pressure. Andrew Wiggins can really move his feet. He can knock the ball away. I think there was a play where like LeBron couldn't even get it up the floor. I don't know if you remember this play on your rewatch, but like he was coming up and like the ball was tipped, and I don't think we got an 8-second violation, but I think it was like pretty close where we were coming up.
Oh
And
yeah, when he was pressing him. Yeah.
yeah. He was like pressing. We couldn't even like dribble
Yeah.
it up the floor. So yeah, I like to me like LeBron's attack should be through the post and then make Draymond come over. Like if it's
Yeah.
GP2, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, like that's not changing LeBron's shot to me. Like if he can get to the front of the rim, and maybe this is just him saving it in the tank. I don't think I've ever seen a star like load manage through a playoffs. Like this is a
Oh yeah.
first for me to see that, right? And I think that's exactly what LeBron's been doing. And he's even publicly said in game. Never heard a player mention this ever publicly either. He's like, yeah, game 5 in Memphis, we knew we didn't really have a shot. So it's like we're just gonna fly back
Yeah.
and beat them at home.
Yeah.
It's an absurd thing to like say out loud, and maybe just don't respect Memphis in that way to say it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like to watch him manage it through. And I'm hoping tomorrow is kind of like the put the hand in the tank, get everything out that you can, and then get 4 days rest before hopefully we move on to a conference finals. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so fascinated by him.
Yeah, so I was gonna say there's also a trap that's in this situation that the Warriors might have like accidentally sprung on themselves, and we were
Mm,
talking about this offline, and I told you that the last time Draymond scored 20 points, it was Game 4 or something like Game 5 at the
yeah,
Kings, and
yeah,
he put up a 20-point game, very dominant, all that sort of stuff, and they win that game, and the game goes to Game 6 back in Golden State, and so people were absolutely convinced that Golden State is going to win this. Like they took the fifth game in with the Kings, and there's that stat like 84% of the teams, blah blah blah, whatever it is, that wins Game 5 in a 2-2 series wins it, and then the winning. Steph has his second half in Game 7, but the trap is the expectation of Draymond to do what he did in Game 5 in Game 6 as well. So the same way Draymond came out in his pod after Lonnie's game, and he said, "Well, if Lonnie Walker beats you, that we'll live with that." Like to some degree, the Lakers could also say the same thing. Like if Draymond's going to be taking all these shots, like we'll kind of live with that. Like it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like it's not very often Draymond comes out hitting his first 3 shots, getting and ones. And that's with
yeah,
us playing way off of him and not respecting him at all as a player. And like if we maybe clean that up, if maybe the crowd's not on his side, like maybe those shots aren't following. And now we're reading tweets up and down our timeline of Warrior fans threatening his life because he's taking shots that they want Steph to take instead. So like there's a part of that that's a trap in the sense that you may not get that 20-point game again, but he may feel like he has that green light because of the game that he
yeah,
just played. And that's what happened in Game 6. Game 6, the Kings kept playing the way they like to play. And eventually their style of play took over. Like De'Aaron Fox kept getting to the paint. Malik kept getting into the paint. They didn't deviate from what they normally do. And that eventually caught up to them. So it's just, I'm very curious to see if that ends up happening. Because if he comes out super aggressive, and if the first 10 shots that the Warriors take, if more than half of them are shots from Draymond or Gary Payton, because they feel like that's what needs to be done, like, and they're not making them, then maybe, like that plays into the Lakers' favor a little bit more.
yeah. That's what's interesting, and I think he's going to have to score. Like I think just the way, at least if we keep the same defense that we've been doing, like that shot is open for him. Like him not shooting is killing their offensive flow, right? Like
Yeah.
if you can cut the clips, like every motion stuff dies. If you switch everything, that kills the motion, and then Draymond gets a one-on-one. I think he's gonna have to at least be a little bit more aggressive. That's a good point. Maybe that like forces their offense to go through him a little bit more.
Yeah.
Draymond had 20 points. 5 of them are jump shots. Like it was 5 points from that was jump shots. And I don't think the Draymond 20 doesn't kill you if like you don't give up 25 to Andrew Wiggins,
Right.
right? Or like, and then the 13 to GP2. And I thought all of GP2's buckets were like our late rotation. One of them
Yeah.
was a 3, but like the other ones were all just late rotation, and he gets a dump off pass or a dump off dunk, or in transition, like he gets a layup. That kind of stuff. That's stuff you got to clean up. And I think, you'll be all right. Clay, I don't think he's going to have. Clay had 19 points in 2 games, which
Yeah.
I don't see him sitting that cold for that long. Like I
Yeah.
think you gotta expect Clay to like come out. I think our defense also is good. I think it's a push and pull there, just like any defensive offense kind of matchup. I think it's some of us and also some of him. I would expect him to be a lot more aggressive tomorrow. But yeah, with the Draymond stuff, I think that's kind of that was their counter. They're like, you have to score. You got to
Yeah.
go, and it was a shock to the system. You could tell Vanderbilt, he wasn't ready for it. D'Lo and Austin were kind of not ready for it. And again, the kind of crowd, Draymond starts flexing, and it kind of avalanches on you in a way that I don't think it'll be as much at home tomorrow. But it's also something you got to be cognizant of. You can't just give up 10 layups to Draymond Green. Like
Absolutely.
that's the stuff that you can't have. But I do think there's a little bit more of like you got to at least make the shot a little bit tougher. And if he's gonna drive and then hit it like a dump pass to GP2, that's where you gotta that's the stuff you gotta take away. But
Yeah.
other than that, like I was kind of fine too with him.
And the crazy part is, even with him doing that, they were right in the game the entire way.
Yeah,
It's not as if like him doing that. Like you would think that if I told you beforehand Draymond's going to have a 20-point game in game 5, you would be like, oh, we probably got blown out by 30 or something like that. But that just wasn't the case. And so that's one of those things that like, and I think Shell here in the YouTube chat just kind of mentioned it. Like they also hit a ton of threes to start that game, to start that
Yeah.
quarter, and it was a tight game all the way through. Again, a testament to the fact that they just kept. We don't need home runs. Just keep going for base hits and go for singles, and you'll win the game that way over the course of the game. And those are high percentage, high quality shots. So it's just, there's a lot of different ways Game 6 could go. It could be very tight, just like Game 4 was all the way through, and then be a game of runs going back and forth. But I do think like Game 4 was one of those games where it kind of like Braun had an up and down game within that game itself. Like we came out in the third, automatically ripped off a 7-0 run to tie it, and then we got that sequence of missed mid-range, missed three, turnover that let them basically go on a 10-0 run to build the lead back up to 10 points. Like what that's I'm hoping we get like whatever the best version of Braun looks like. If that's just very little turnovers and just attacking the paint, like even if it's still subdued, you know what I mean? Like I hope that's a version that we get, because we do need him. Like I don't think AD has done a really good job in single coverage scoring, and he's done a really good job even in traffic scoring. I think Austin's done a really good job. Like I need more from D'Lo, and I need a little bit more like pace setting and tempo dictation by D'Lo and Braun. Like we need them to kind of step up, because I think AD and Austin have really been bailing this team out when things get really hairy for them at times.
Yeah, I thought Austin was really good. I mean, I think he's starting to find his legs, which is, not something you usually do later on in a series, but it feels like he's found his legs. He's hitting threes. He hit 3 more threes yesterday. So he's 6 for his last 12 from downtown. So last 2 games, 6 for 12. That's really good. And a lot of those are tough, right? They're not just wide open threes. Some of those are like step backs. Those are like sitting behind the screen, taking those. And I think, we're going to get a short leash with like D'Lo tomorrow. Like, I feel like it's going to like Lonnie Walker, I thought played really well in his minutes. I think we're like, there's this athleticism that gap between those guys. And I think just we need a little bit more juice on like defense there. And again, I think, next year's could be more like with D'Lo and stuff like that. But I just think that's kind of where it's going to be. But I thought Austin was really good. I thought like he was aggressive, kept us in the game, some tough jumpers, got to the line, had like a nice pump fake on Clay. He's pushing the physicality back, right? And I think that's what you have to do against the Warriors. Clay, like you don't think of him like that, but he's a super physical dude, even on defense. Like he's trying to get into you, and you can tell, like just like giving the contact back, I think is so important. So it's gonna be fascinating, man. I think we pull it out tomorrow. I'm just how it, what the process is. I'm so interested. I think the Warriors think they found something with the Steph, screen action. And I think we believe that like, we go home. I just like they're so small, Vinay. Like I just like it, that usually catches up to a team at some point. Like when you give up that much of a size advantage, like the Warriors are a unicorn of unicorns in terms of their play styles. But I do think still like that size and that physicality should matter in a home game where you can kind of control the tempo a little bit more. And I think LeBron's going to be a lot more aggressive and assertive and really decisive in what he does in terms of his offense. I thought there was a lot of settling for jumpers, and some of his jumpers went down. But I thought a lot of that stuff that he can clean up, and he's going to have to. Just one more time.
Was he doing that? I'm trying to remember. In Memphis Game 6, was that the game? Because there was a game in that series where he went right to the post to start the game, like very early on. Was that Game 6, or was that a different game that I'm thinking of? Was that like Game 5? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that was that game 3 or 4 Memphis. I don't remember if that. I thought Game 6 D'Lo just came out and hit like 8 threes, and that was like
maybe
that was kind of the game.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was, but there was a game I remember where Braun like very deliberately, because I think he had like Xavier Tillman, or I forgot who he had on him. Oh, it might have been Dylan Brooks that he had on him. He took him directly into the post, like for like 3 straight possessions, and he just kept attacking putting pressure, pump faking, all that sort of stuff. And it's not like his foot was any better back then, but he was very deliberate with his actions. Like I'm going to dictate how the defense is going to defend us on this possession, not I'm going to do whatever the defense wants me to do on that possession. And I think this would be a very good game for that sort of thing. Like you said, like they're giving up so much size, but really all they're trying to do is outspeed us to the rim.
Yeah.
And as long as they can keep doing that, they're going to continue to do that. So we just have to. I don't think matching speed with speed is the way to do it. I think it's just remember who you are. Like, just like you guys are the bigger, stronger, more physical team. You guys need to play like it and not just be lazy and watch guys just take layup lines at the rim and stuff like that.
Yeah, if we went to like this 4 guard lineup to close the game, I think AD was out
Yeah,
at
he was.
that
It was because
time.
he was
Yeah,
out. Yeah,
he was out, so we went to the 4 guard, and I understood it at the time. I just like to me that's just I hope that's not the direction we go with this,
sure.
right? Like I like where a lot of the game we try to match up their speed with speed. I think this is like make it a half court, make it an ugly game.
Yeah,
And I think we have the advantage there. Steph's still gonna be a killer. Like that's a every possession issue that you got to solve. But I think we found some. I don't know if answers is the right word, but the right process to go about it.
yeah,
And I don't think the right process is letting him cook for 14 assists like he did in game 4. Like
right,
that. Like to me, that's the wrong issue. You got to pick some type of poison, and both of them can kill you. Like
right.
either of the poison can kill you, but you got to kind of pick one. I think that's the more one you should lean. Force him to kind of score, and he can do it. Had a 50-point game 7. Like Steph is more than capable of killing you offensively. I think that's where you go about it and adjust later. Because they have like 2 non-shooters out
Yeah.
there.
What do you think? Like they were at home and they were missing threes at a pretty decent clip. It felt like
Yeah,
even open ones like they were missing. Like that's not just by chance. Like do you think like the fatigue is catching up to them? Just running around constantly. Like they scrapped their motion offense. The motion offense is
yeah,
gone.
it's gone.
They don't even
Hmm.
run it anymore. Like they've pretty much gone exclusively to try and create a mismatch with the assignment and then swing the ball around until somebody can get an open shot. Um, but they've scrapped it completely. Do you think? Because I feel like that's actually affected them. Because Clay is not running the same action, so that robotic rhythm that he has when he keeps running the down screen
Yeah,
stuff or the flare cuts and all that, like that's actually throwing him off. Because now he's just doing that thing where he runs wing to wing and he's just waiting for whenever. And like again, yesterday was a game where Clay took some threes, and I was just like, I don't know if this is the right three to take. You're just like kind of like he's shooting
yeah,
it like he doesn't know when the next shot's going to come, and
right.
like we may get more of that tomorrow. Like just them taking out of it. Like Poole had another play and where he got it off of a screen and he takes this floater that doesn't even hit the rim. It goes straight
Yeah,
off the backboard, and he's like, it's just it's been those two guys not being hyper efficient and effective or drawing fouls, that sort of thing. Like that has really hurt them. Like that's why I keep thinking when on my rewatch, like, oh, okay, Draymond scored 20, but what if he doesn't score 20 and these guys are still shooting like this? Like things could get really ugly really fast for them because of how they like to play. And so, that I hope like the staff saw that. I hope they saw that they're
yeah,
like, look, our Austin did a good job. Dennis did a phenomenal job staying with Clay, like when he was in the game and pressing him. Like obviously Curry's going to get his 25. You're never going to stop him from doing that. But like I hope they saw it and they said, look, our perimeter guys are doing their job. We need to go yell at our bigs and be like, yo, like you guys need to cover the paint. Like these guys are doing their jobs and making sure that they take tough jumpers, but you guys got to help them out at the rim. And so I hope that was one of the takeaways from their film session today.
yeah. We've changed their character. Like this is not who they are at all, right? This
No.
is just like they're a completely different system here, and so like you've completely changed them. They've changed the starting lineup 3 times already, right? Like you've had them adjust, and that's part of a series as well. But yeah, they're playing a completely different game, and the Warriors are so like Steph is so malleable that like he can kind of shift into different roles and still kind of kill you. But I mean, look at Clay's shooting. So he took 25 shots in game 1. Game 2 was a blowout, took 18, but then after that, Renee 14, 11, and 12, right? Like, and it's 3 for 12, 3 for 11, 5 for 14. And I think it's what you're talking about. Like, this is like, to me, that system, Steph can, dominate in any system. That system is based for like Draymond and Clay to kind of, it really accentuates their talents to me, and it puts them in great position. If you can switch, and this happens in the playoffs, you saw this against Houston, I think a few years ago, as well. Like if you switch everything, it kind of mitigates a lot of motion offense where you
Right.
kind of have to have an isolation score. And at that time, it was Kevin Durant, which is unfair as hell when Steph and Clay are on the floor
Absolutely.
together with them. But and that took out a Houston team. But I think you're seeing that here as well. And I hope tomorrow it can be mitigated a little bit more to where you can slow down. They're just when the ball moves for them, they're like the team that really lives and feeds off that. And
Right.
you'll see Moody get going, and their whole team just really gets going off of like the ball movement. They'll have like 4 or 5 swings in the same possession. And I thought our closeouts were reckless as well last night. So all that kind of comes together to a really poor kind of defensive performance. So yeah, but you're right though, to your point, like it's a different war. Like they've completely shifted what they do. And I think game one kind of tells you from Clay's shooting 25 shots for Clay. He doesn't shoot that much, but he gets up 20 shots in their system. You switch it over to this ball screen heavy kind of a Steph oriented offense, and yeah, Clay's not going to get loose as much. And I think we've done a nice job chasing him around too. But that's the conundrum that Golden State puts you in.
Yeah, and it feels like you now have. I do agree with what Ham has said. Like we now have 2 game, like we have there's no surprises now. We have 2 games of tape. We know what they're going to do when GP comes, like when GP or Draymond or literally anybody comes to screen for Steph because they want AD on the perimeter. That screener is not screening. He's just slipping the screen no matter what. And so the Lakers, there should be no surprises as to how they want to cover that now. Like there should be no, and Steph isn't shooting it. Like he's waiting for the slip because he wants to set up the slip. So it's not like there's like a dual threat. Not that he can't. He has a hair trigger on his jumper, but like he's looking for the slip. Like there's a couple of times where that slip has happened and like the Lakers are trying to take away the passing angle and he's like adjusting his body to try to create a passing angle for that player. So it's like it's very clear that he's doing that deliberately. I do think that game 4 probably took something out of him, like legs wise, because he played over 40 minutes. He was doing a ton. And I think like, just like Braun, like he's probably doing a little bit of load managing within the game too itself, because it's just doing it that much is physically taxing. So if you are winning the game of attrition against a guy like Steph and he's not taking those shots, then you've done a pretty good job, with him. Now you just have to make sure you clean up all this stuff that you're just letting go with the role players. And I think that stuff is it's fixable. I don't think it's stuff like, I don't think they've done anything in game 5 or even game 4 where I'd be like, we have no solution for this at all. And I think the solution is just play better, communicate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't be lazy and just watch guys back cut you for offensive. Like I think there was a possession this game or the last game where a shot goes up, Andrew Wiggins just goes flying in, nobody boxes it out, he tips it out. They miss the 3, then GB2 comes in, does exactly the same thing, goes flying into the middle of traffic and tips it out again. And it's just like, all right, guys, like we have to clean this kind of stuff up.
Yeah, for sure. And like those offensive tip outs, and the Warriors are really good at crashing at that. But like, boxing out, and that's all that fundamental stuff that I thought we just didn't do. And keeping them out of transition, I think is super key. You got to make them score in the half court every time on you. Make them score in the half court. You get back. And some of those are on runouts. I also think shot selection is extremely important. I think a lot of our threes are, like Dennis corner 3, and those go in sometimes, but like when it doesn't, it's like a long ball rebound where they're out and running, and especially when Draymond gets the rebound, he's gone. Vanderbilt threes as well, to me, are close to turnovers, like where they're like Vanderbilt threes are almost live ball turnovers to me, like unless you're up big, but where like they can really get out and go, and you just like you don't want to feed their fuel, right? And I think that really feeds like what they do, like running and transition. And I think our half court defense is solid. I think it's solid enough to kind of slow them down to get our scoring on the other end. So we'll see a little.
I was gonna say Vanderbilt's aggression in game 6 was also a thing too, if I remember. Like in Memphis, like Vanderbilt was, I think he hit a couple of threes in game 6. No, him.
Yeah. I believe you're right. Yeah, he had like 2 threes, I think, to start that game.
To start the game, yeah. So it's just like even him just being an offensive threat. Like if we're disrespecting Draymond's crashing the glass, and they're doing the same thing to Vando. Like if Braun doesn't have it or Braun's giving it to you, I'm not saying chuck the 3, but like go make a play, attack and set somebody else up. If you want, they don't have Looney. It's just Draymond, and it's going to be Draymond has to be concerned for Anthony Davis. So maybe those layups are there, or something else.
Yeah, I'm wondering if like so Vanderbilt is so fascinating. I know this is probably a later conversation, but like 82 versus 16, right? And we think of this in terms of like, and this is not attacking him. This is like we think of that usually in terms of like, yeah, you're 82 or you're 16. You're on one or the other, right? Like
Right.
we just throw them in either side, right? But I think like his offensive game is like an 82. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
when I like see like all the floaters and all the stuff's kind of gone. Like the cutting and like
Yeah.
the he had some like pretty reverse finishes. I remember to like during the season and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff where like defenses really tighten in. They're disrespecting your offense at such a like at such amount where like they're just taking away what you do well. Like you're not getting anything around the rim. Everything from you is going to have to come from the outside. And I think this isn't specific to Vanderbilt. Teams do this to all kinds of role
Yeah.
players. I'm keying in on him because he's the one being played off of in our starting lineup. I think his defense has been solid. It's been great. We're not here without his defensive act, especially on John Morant and stuff like that. But I just think it's interesting. Like his offensive game is really because I think like when he brought him in, he was like a Swiss Army. Like that's kind of what it was sold as. Like he can pass. He can he has a little bit of a left hand. Like he has a floater. And I still think his passing is better than he's shown. I think he has a little bit more short roll action where he can't really get to in this series. But I think it's interesting watching him. But there's a little like tug of war here coming, Vinay. The Warriors have won a road game in every single series that
Yeah.
they've played. The Lakers have not lost a home game
All
since the
season.
playoffs started.
Since the playoffs
Yeah,
started. Yeah.
yeah. So it's a little bit
And
of a back and forth.
And what was it? The other stat that I saw, the Bron stat. LeBron's never lost a series.
Yeah, he's like,
He's 17-0 in series that he's been 3-1. So there's the
yeah,
impossible force meets the unbreakable wall thing going on right now.
yeah,
So yeah, I think both teams, and Bron said it himself, it's game 7 for them, tomorrow.
hmm
It's not game 6 for them. And so I think both teams are going to come in very seriously. I think the Warriors are very, their 3 core guys are veteran guys. They're going to come very locked in, regardless of whatever's going on with the young guys on that team. I think the Lakers are going to come in very locked in too as well. It's it's going to come down to execution, efficiency, who makes the least amount of mistakes, who wins the rebounding battle. I haven't double checked the stat, but I think the team that wins the rebounding battle has won all of the games in this
mm.
series. I'm don't hold me to that. I'm not absolutely sure, but I want to say if you
Felt
win the
like it.
rebounding battle, you win it. Points in the paint, again, another thing. Like the Lakers have not been overwhelmingly winning the points in the paint since game 1. Like it's been much closer, and that's why the game 3 blowout happens when we hit a bunch of threes. So that's a little bit different, or the free throw disparity happens. But like they've got to do it. Like they've got to do it. So I'll ask you the question. Game 6, we
Yeah,
know the home crowd's going to be raucous. We know the home crowd's going to be crazy. We know these guys do play better. The role players do play better when they're at home, whatever their specific roles are. Who's the role player that you think, if he has a standout game, who's the role player that has a standout game tomorrow?
I just think it's trending to the way like I think Austin is just trending upward. I would probably go with him. I also think like he's the one that they're trying to, like you said earlier, they're trying to remove D'Lo's offense. For whatever reason, they've really keyed on that, and I think they've done that. I think GP2 has done exactly what they told him: get under D'Angelo Russell, get under his dribble, force him to feel pressure. And I think he's done that. And I think there's ways D'Lo can again attack force with force, and hopefully, I think D'Lo can hit some open shots. I think Austin's been like really solid. I think he's found some success against Golden State. He has like a wiggle about him, like where like
Mhm.
he makes it tough. Like he gets to his mid range. He's more physical. He kind of pushes physicality back on a Warriors team that really attacks you. So I'd go with him, even though like that's on the backdrop of LeBron and AD playing well. Like that has to be the backdrop between the 2 stars showing up. But I think Austin has the best chance. I think he's the most comfortable getting his shots off on the ball. But what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Austin will have the big game. I'm gonna say so. So I'll give you a follow up question too. So
Hmm.
I agree with you. I think Austin will be the guy who's productive out of the group of role players. The next question I'll ask is, who do you think might surprise you as a standout role player? And I'll give you mine. I think it's gonna be Dennis. I think Dennis
Okay.
may surprise me off the bench because he's been doing actually a pretty good job, like getting to the rim. His defense has been pretty great. I think Ham has rewarded him with possessions, like minutes, because of that. His defense and his ability to score. So I think Dennis might have a game where, like, he gets to the line foul baiting, no foul baiting, whatever it is. I think he has a decent game tomorrow.
Yeah, he's been playing well actually. I thought he had a really nice game 5. Like I think he was solid. I thought he kept us in the game. He's another guy that can strangely get his shot off. Like he gets up to those floaters and those like little maneuvers in the paint and stuff. Like sometimes our guards just can't get to his size. He can kind of get in there. Um, yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I would like go probably maybe Lonnie can have like a stretch of like a quarter. I think he's gonna
Maybe.
get a shot tomorrow, and I think his athleticism like it really jumps out. A steal and like a layup, get the crowd going a little bit. I think I could see that from Lonnie as well. So, yeah, and look, I hope D'Lo surprises me as well. Like I would love for like another game 6, and D'Lo gets up for these. Like
Yeah.
he's another guy where like the crowd gets into him. Like I feel like him and the crowd have also like this nice symbiotic relationship where like he feeds off them, they feed on him, and like I think that's something that can happen tomorrow too. So
Yeah.
I need a team effort for it.
Yeah, so we'll see tomorrow. Big game. It's basically Game 7 for the Lakers because we don't want to have to go back to Chase and turn it into like this sudden death situation against them. Oh yeah, and awesome. So Jacob was nice enough to go and fact check me. The rebounding stat is correct. So in each Lakers win, the Lakers have only had 2 more rebounds. The Warriors have one. So yeah, so basically the team that wins the um, rebounding battle ends up winning the game. In both Warriors wins, they've had 10 plus more rebounds than the Lakers. And in the Lakers wins, the Lakers have barely won the rebounding battle, but they have won the rebounding battle, which is important in general. And so, tomorrow will be a big game. Uh, I'm not counting it as a legacy game for anybody. I think it's just going to be a big game, and we'll
Sure.
see what happens. I don't think I don't think we're expecting any surprises. I know we got the news on Andrew Wiggins and the rib
Yeah,
issue. I
strange.
don't know if that's a real thing or if that's just them
They
putting it out there.
Yeah, they said it's a pain tolerance, so I'm guessing he's going to play. I think they
Yeah,
also reported that he said he'll look like he'll play.
yeah,
But last thing on my notes, Vinay, that I
yeah. Go for
had,
it.
I think this is interesting. So Anthony Davis, game 5, 0 stocks, so no steals, no
Mm,
blocks, right? Game 4, no blocks. Had 3 steals with 0 blocks. Before that, this was his block count. Before game 4, 4 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks. Like so, that's what 11 blocks in 3 games, and then 0 blocks the next 2. Um,
defensive activity.
so that was my question to you. How much is it him? How much is the Warriors scheme? Like, where's the line there to you? Look, I think 0 stocks leans one way, right? Like
Yeah,
that, that's 0. Again, those aren't picture perfect. Like those aren't exact measurements of it how good a player defended. I think those numbers can be skewed a little bit,
sure.
but I do think with Anthony Davis, those tell a lot of the story. But yeah, where you come down with that? I think that's so fascinating that like after a series and a half where he pretty much blocked anything that was in the air
Yeah.
to have 0 blocks in the last 2 games. Where do you fall in terms of scheme versus just his tenacity defensively?
Yeah, so like the fact that their points in the paint have taken a jump up in the past 2
Mm-hmm.
games, going over 50 points for both games 4 and games 5, and the fact that he hasn't had very many blocks kind of tells me like there might be something going on with the scheme that's causing him to not be in position because he doesn't strike me as a guy who wouldn't attempt to block or attempt to defend the rim. So like I would think it that way, but there is an element of it also, like there is an element of it that involves like him not chasing blocks, like him not really making his presence known. Um, I have said it many times that he has an inconsistent motor when it comes to that kind of stuff. And some
Yeah.
of that I understand why it is because he gets hurt. Defensive guys who like to play defense, always get hurt in the NBA. It happened to Caruso all the time. It will always happen. It happens to Pat Beverly every single year with his knees. One of his knees always gives out. Like when you play really good defense, you're always putting yourself in harm's way. And we literally had a game where he got like kneed in the groin, fell on somebody's knee, hit in the face, like all in the same game. So it's just I get it when it happens, but I think he's probably aware of that too as well, and I think he's going to come in to set a defensive tone um, tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we've been doing this for a couple years now, and we're always like Anthony Davis's biggest opponent is Anthony freaking Davis. Sometimes,
Yeah.
like sometimes he's just playing himself. And the gap, I I think the gap between like him and like his ceiling self, that's larger than like a lot of players. Like his engagement when he's engaged, like the gap between that and when he's not is the biggest that I've seen in the league. So yeah, hopefully he's good tomorrow as well. Obviously
Yeah.
with
Yeah. Hopefully he has no
the
lingering issues from the Looney injury.
yeah, yeah. So hopefully he's good. Hopefully LeBron's good, and we just get a healthy match. I hope Wiggins plays, right? I hope we get, I hope Wiggins plays as well through that. I think they said he will. So let's get an even, matchup here. Everyone's healthy and ready to go, and hopefully we have a really fun game tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. So we're looking forward to it. Game 6, it'll be big. Lakers win lose. I'm sure it'll be a lot of reactions on the timeline.
Oh
There's
God,
already been conspiracy. Did you see that the guy that owns the corgi posted a video of him like trying to cancel out like his prediction or something like that? I guess the guy's apparently, I don't know if it's a real video or not, but apparently the guy's a Laker fan, the guy who posted the video, and he's just like
right.
canceling my own curse or whatever it is, my own prediction, jokingly. I don't know if it's real, but it's TikTok, so
Uh,
social media.
yeah. Let me have the the Mother's Day free, man. Don't don't watch a game on Mother's Day.
Yeah,
Don't
that's true.
go ahead, Lakers. Win tomorrow and get it over with.
Yeah, very true, very true. So yeah, so as always, on behalf of me and Raj, we want to thank all the folks that are in the live stream, all the folks that are in this space. Whenever you guys like, retweet,
Mhm.
share, whatever you guys do in support of the podcast or the space, or even our individual accounts, whether it's just following it and engaging with us as the games go on, we always appreciate it. And we're always humbled by the audience and the folks that engage with us when it comes to just talking about Lakers basketball and listening to us talk about it. So Game 6 is tomorrow. We'll all be locked in on the timeline as a family to see how that game goes and root for the Lakers. And
Yeah.
hopefully we get a win. And we are one game away from the Western Conference Finals if we can get it done.
Oof.
So we're going to be. We know who the opponent's going to be now. There's no confusion about that. So hopefully the Lakers, they realize the moment and they capture it. But as always, we appreciate you and we appreciate you guys giving us time out of your day to listen to us talk about Lakers basketball. So we'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Peace.